Short questions with answers of Small Town and the River by Mamang Dai. Question 1. What does the speaker mean by small towns? Answer. By the phrase small towns, the speaker means those towns which do not have the association of nature. Naturally, life in such places is suffocating. Question 2. What is the hometown of the speaker? Answer. The hometown of the speaker is Pasighat. It is located in the foothills on the right bank of the river Siang. Question 3. How did the speaker characterize summer? Answer. The speaker characterizes summer as the all directions. Question 4. How does the speaker characterize winter? Answer. The speaker attributes winter as the time when the wind flows down the valley and produces a loud sound. Question 5. How does the speaker compare her hometown with small towns? Answer. By the phrase small towns, the speaker refers to those places which are devoid of the attachment of nature. Naturally, life here is suffocating. The speaker does not enjoy her existence here. Not only that, but the place also creates in her the impression of death. However, death here does not imply the absence of life. Rather, it stands for the absence of the joy of living. On the other hand, the hometown of the speaker, that is Pasighat, which is located in the foothills on the right bank of the river Siang, has a very close attachment with nature. So, there is a throbbing of life here. No wonder the speaker enjoys her stays here. Even the disparity of weather, as the one existing between summer and winter, does not change her impression. Question 6. Explain the phrase sad wreath of tuberoses. Answer. The phrase wreath of tuberoses refers to a garland made of tuberose flowers. Such garlands are put in the neck of dead persons. The thought of these dead persons makes one sad. Question 7. Why is silence called dreadful? Answer. The silence referred to is caused due to the death of someone. This death remains this death reminds others of their mortal nature. It is because of this association that the said silence is called dreadful. Question 8. Why does the poetess juxtapose life and death? Answer. Through her experience of seeing someone near and dear to her dying, the poetess realizes that life is transient. Thus, she comes to know that after the end of life there is nothing but death. Quite naturally, she juxtaposes life and death. Question 9. Why does the poetess say only the rituals are permanent? The poet sees people dying one after another. Thus, she comes to realize that human life is transitory. Side by side, she sees that the rituals done to the dead persons do not change with the change of time. Therefore, she says only the rituals are permanent. Question 10. How did the death of someone affect the poetess? Answer. In the course of the poem, the poetess mentions that she finds someone who is very near to her death. This person may be the younger sister of her mother, who dies in a clinic in New Delhi. She felt sad for the dead person because the latter was loved by others and she died at a young age. As a result, she wept. The death caused in her the feeling that she was bound to die someday. Naturally, she became afraid. Garlands made of tuberoses were brought to decorate the dead body. From this, she gathered the impression that though there is a continuous change in the pattern of life and death, the ritual done to the dead persons remain unchanged. Question 11. How does the river cut through the land in summer? Answer. In summer, the river cuts through the land slowly and with minimum power. It seems as if the river is expressing its grief. Question 12. Why does, according to the poetess, does the river sometimes hold its breath? Answer. According to the poetess, the river sometimes holds its breath because it wants to find out the land of fish and stars. Quite possibly, it refers to a big source of water. Question 13. What does the poetess mean by the phrase a land of fish and stars? Answer. By the phrase a land of fish and stars, the poetess probably refers to a large water source abounding in fishes. Moreover, the water of the source is so transparent that it reflects that stars that are there in the sky at daytime, but which, though not seen due to the glaring light of the sun, are being reflected in the transparent water. By the phrase a land of fish and stars, the poetess probably refers to a large water source, abounding in fishes. Moreover, the water of the source is so transparent that it reflects that stars that are there in the sky at daytime, but which, though not seen due to the glaring light of the sun, are being reflected in the transparent water. Question 14. How does the poet establish the fact that the river has a soul? Answer. According to the poetess, the river has a soul, meaning that it is a living entity. The poet establishes this fact by explaining its course in summer. At this time, there is very little water in the river, therefore, it flows very slowly and with minimum power. It seems as if the river is expressing grief. At times, the flow of the river stops. It seems as if the river stopped its breath. Actually, the river wants a large amount of water and to flow at great speed. The river wants to be a reservoir of a great number of fishes. Moreover, the river wants crystal clear water so that it reflects the stars which, though unseen, are there in the sky and which are not being reflected in the water. Question 15. Where does the river stretch past? Answer. The river stretches past the town with all possibilities. It is a reference to the hometown of the poetess, which is Pasighat. Question 16. What does the river know? Answer. The river knows the immortality of water. Actually, irrespective of the amount of water in it, the river exists both in summer and in winter. Question 17. Why is the earth called dry? Answer. It is summer. Naturally, there is very little or no rainfall. Therefore, the earth is called dry. Question 18. Where does the mist fall and to what effect? Answer. The mist falls on the mountain tops. The mist falls on the mountain tops. As a result, the full view of the mountain is obstructed. Question 19. How does the poet establish the immortality of water? Answer. Human life is short lived. In contrast, water has a sense of immortality in it. For example, in summer, the amount of water in the river is very little. Then the water flows very slowly. It seems as if the water is expressing grief. At times, even the water seems to stop its flow. Actually, the water wants to be a land of fish and stars. This is it does in the monsoon. The water in the rain has some different kinds of functions. It injects new life into the dry soil. It changes to mist when it appears on the mountains and envelops it. Thus, water not only exists in all forms but also in all time. No wonder the poetess finds a sense of immortality in it. Question 20. What, according to the poetess, marks the days of childhood? Answer. According to the poetess, happy incidents mark the days of childhood. It is at this time that the child creates a world of his own and does not allow the interference of any incident belonging to the outer world. Naturally, a thing like political unrest, though it exists in society, hardly affects the child. Question 21. With what do the small towns grow? Answer. According to the poet, small towns grow with the anxiety of being swallowed by the big towns for migration, industrialization, and territorial shifting. There may also be a reference to political anxiety which affects the small towns of Arunachal Pradesh. Question 22. How are the dead placed? Answer. The dead bodies of human beings are placed with their head directed to the west. It is done deliberately so that these dead beings, when coming to life, can walk straight to the east, which is looked upon as the house of the sun. It reflects renewal. Question 23. What does the poet refer to bamboo? Answer. Bamboo in all forms is a part of the business of the Adi community. Thus, it is a part of their lives. Therefore, the poet, in order to refer to the life desired by the people of the Adi community, refers to bamboo. Question 24. Why do the people of the Adi community place the dead bodies west? Answer. The folklore of Arunachal Pradesh in general and that of the Adi community in particular shares the belief that the dead bodies are reborn and that too in the shape the dead bodies are laid down. That is why they keep the bodies of their dead people with their heads directed to the west. They do so with the hope that when these bodies will come into existence, they will walk towards the east. The east, according to them, has a positive association because the sun rises here. They look upon the eastern horizon as the house of the sun. Question 25. In the expression, life matters like this, what kind of life does the poetess speak of? Answer. The poetess speaks of life in its primordial form. This life embodies bamboo business and eating fish in their meal. Moreover, there is a kind of hankering after freedom from the anxiety of all forms. Question 26. Why does the poet say, in small towns by the river, we all want to walk with the gods? Answer. The poetess knows that life in small towns is full of anxiety related to politics and also to other things. So, they look upon God as one who can save them from this anxiety.